Alex Albon is without a doubt one of the most outstanding drivers of 2023 so far. He's won the praise of so many F1 fans and also teams by outdriving the shortcomings of his car and putting Williams 7th place in the Constructors' Championship. Single-handedly, by the way. A position that they only could have dreamed of in the last few years, given some really shocking years for Williams. He is proving his mettle time and time again with some amazing qualifying performances and some pretty consistent points finishing now. He was voted Driver of the Day at the Canadian Grand Prix, putting up some amazing defences against cars behind him that were on newer tyres and with DRS, earning himself and Williams an incredible 7th place finish. And off the back of these performances, he's proved himself to be a very formidable driver and also a very intelligent one at that. And now he's starting to attract a little bit of attention from the other teams on the grid who are now starting to think, I'd quite like an Alex Albon in my car. And from what we've seen, you do start to wonder, could Albon challenge the front-running cars and establish himself at the front of the field given the right machinery and the right team? When you look at how Albon has just grown and developed, it is amazing. When you go back and compare the Red Bull Albon to the Williams Albon, it's like they're two different people. The Williams Albon is much happier and much more confident of his own skill and just general abilities. He walks 2 feet taller than the Red Bull Albon, who just seemed crushed and was clearly crumbling under the pressure from just the Red Bull machine. If you don't believe me, just go back and watch previous interviews or Drive to Survive and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So we just quickly rewind things back to the start of 2022. Williams really saw something in Albon and signed him up to replace George Russell as he was off to Mercedes. There was a little bit of tension between Toto Wolff and Christian Horner as Albon was still a Red Bull driver, but they managed to sign him up and Williams haven't looked back since. At the time, I was convinced that Williams were really going to miss Russell and what direction they were going to go in, but I was proved wrong, absolutely. He has since become the guy at Williams, notching up points whenever they're possible and just pulling together a performance and just getting the best out of a not so great car. Also showing a racecraft and tyre management far beyond what you'd expect for a driver of his level. James Vowles, the Williams F1 team principal, has repeatedly said that he wants to rebuild Williams, this new team, around Albon. So there is serious belief in him there. After his miserable time at Red Bull, he is truly reborn at Williams, and fair play and hats off to the team for doing that. But now these consistent drives and this great feedback is now starting to attract the attention of other teams on the grid. Albon is a wanted man and there are teams who would find him very useful and very appealing to have on board. You don't get many drivers who have his speed, race intelligence, and who are a team player and aren't egotistical and probably are very positive to work with. In a lot of circumstances, you probably only get one or the other. Albon has said he remains open when his Williams contract expires at the end of 2024, so he's probably quite keen to see what he might have coming his way. He's had praise heaped on him by Ferrari, and there are rumours about a possible drive in 2024 when Sainz and Leclerc's contracts expire. To go from this positive, almost family James Vowles-led Williams to the fiery, somewhat inconsistent and sometimes successful Ferrari team would be very intriguing. And also a serious test to Albon, as he's very comfy at Williams and the environment they give him. Aston Martin could come knocking, as I think 2024 will be Alonso's final year in F1, so they're going to need a serious replacement for him. And I'm sure with any luck that will be Lance Stroll's final year as well, so potentially there's 2 seats up for grabs at Aston. Until Aston switch to Honda engines in 2026, Aston and Williams will be using the same Mercedes engine, so potentially there's a factor there at play as well. And when you think a year at Aston could also develop into a Mercedes drive, as Hamilton's and Russell's contracts are expiring after 2025. And despite all their history, I'm sure Red Bull are going to start poking around as well, as Perez's contract is up in 2024. But I'd be very surprised if Albon gives any Red Bull advance any attention, as I think that is probably a chapter of his life he wants to just leave behind and try and progress with any other team, especially while it's the Max Verstappen show. A McLaren drive could also open up, as Lando Norris is very hot property right now, and they'll really struggle to hang on to him after 2024 should that year be a very inconsistent or even winless year for them. I personally cannot wait for the 2024 driver market. It's going to be absolutely insane. 9 drivers' contracts are expiring in 2024, so it is going to be completely off the hook. Or finally, and this is the option that I would love the most as a Williams fan, he could stay at Williams. However, this is going to have to be a very different Williams team in 2024, as they're going to have to be getting regular points and podiums by then. And I think what James Vowles has been doing is fantastic, and I love the growth and improvements and development, but I think that by 2024 is just a bridge too far. In order for Albon to stay at Williams, they'll have to pay him properly to do so, but it will also need to be 100% his team, and there will need to be a clear plan and roadmap on how Williams are going to become regular winners again and championship contenders. And if I'm completely honest, it pains me to say that I think Albon staying at Williams is probably the least likely option. But I wouldn't blame Albon. He's only got a short time to make a name for himself in F1 and be successful, and there are other teams on the grid that can give him a quicker path to do this. However, if I had to put my money on any outcome, I would probably say Albon will be going to Ferrari. Let me know in the comments what you think. As soon as his contract expires, Leclerc is going to want to get out of Ferrari ASAP. There will be a seat available, Ferrari are going to want him, and a drive at Ferrari will give you almost immortality in F1 terms. And I'd like to think Ferrari would have also sorted themselves out by then and become competent and regular race winners again. But there's one more factor here at play, and it's since his rebirth at Williams, he's only had Latifi and Sargent as teammates, and none of them are real threats, shall we say. Albon will have to prove himself against a competent teammate who potentially could be out-qualifying him and outperforming him regularly throughout the season. I think under his own steam, he is a quality driver and he can establish himself up there with some top names. But if a teammate starts to get into his head the way things started to happen at Red Bull, it's going to be a real test on him, and I think we're going to have to see how he's going to overcome this, or even if it affects him at all. Anyway, keep doing what you're doing, Albon. You're making everyone proud. Let me know in the comments where you see Albon going in the future, if he deserves a big drive or even if he's going to stay at Williams. Please subscribe to the channel, as I hope to bring you many more videos like this, as well as interviews with F1 personalities, which is currently in the works right now. So anyway, that's one more video. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again next time.